Hi everyone, welcome back to another GCSE Maths lesson with Mara. Today we're exploring perimeters, areas, and volume. And by the end of this lesson, you'll be confident in solving different types of questions on these topics. So grab your pen and paper and let's get started. Right, let's go through some of the key vocabulary. So the perimeter is a total distance around a shape. The area, on the other hand, is the amount of space inside a shape. We're going to look at different shapes in just a moment, and we'll go through how we can calculate these. But volume is the amount of space a 3D object occupies. So the volume, the space inside of a 3D shape, whatever the shape may be. Base and height are used in the area calculations, and we'll look at how they can be different for different shapes in just a moment. Length, width, and depth are used in the volume calculation. Again, we're going to look at some specific examples. Now, let's look at how we find the perimeter. So the perimeter is, we said, the distance around a shape. So if I want to know the perimeter of this rectangle, I'm going to need to know what the length of these are. So if this is 2 centimeters, this is 5, and we know the opposite sides have the same size, so we would just add 2 to 5 to 2 to 5, and we've got perimeter, the distance around the shape. Same thing with a square, we add all the lengths. So if one side is 2 centimeters, all the others are going to be 2 as well, and we just add 2 to 2 to 2 to 2, or 2 times 4 because there's 4 of them. And same thing again with a triangle. We find what the lengths are and then add them together, and we've got the perimeter. So to find the perimeter of any shape, we just add all the lengths together, and we've got the perimeter. However, things are slightly different for area. If you want to know areas of shapes, there are different formulas to use. Okay, to find the area of a rectangle, we're going to multiply the width by the length. So if this is 5 centimeters and this is 2 centimeters, the area of this would be 5 times 2, which gives us 10 centimeter squared. Now, the unit for area is always going to be centimeter squared. The unit for perimeter, however, since we're not multiplying a unit by the other, so notice how we multiply 5 by 2. If you multiply centimeter by centimeter, you're going to get centimeter squared. So the unit of any area calculation is always centimeter squared, or that unit squared, so meter squared, millimeter squared, whatever the unit is squared. The unit for perimeter is going to be just that singular unit, so if it's millimeters, millimeters, centimeters, centimeters, and vice versa. To find the area of square is the same thing again, but the length and the width in this case are the same. So if this is 2 centimeters, that's meant to be centimeters, and this is 2 centimeters, then we're going to do 2 times 2, which gives us 4 centimeters squared. So the same formula for both square and rectangle. For a triangle, we're going to multiply the height by the base and then divide it by 2. Now, the base is this length here. That's our base there. The height, however, be very careful when it comes to triangle. Neither of these sides are referred to as the height. The height is the perpendicular line from the base to the highest point of the triangle. So this, excuse my wobbly line, it should be straight, but that is our height there, right? So if you have a triangle that is like this, a right angle triangle, that is the perpendicular line from the base to the highest point of the triangle. So in this type of triangle, that would be our height. And the area of a trapezium, which is this shape here, this is labeled as A and B. So it's half multiplied by A plus B, which is these two, multiplied by the height, which is again the perpendicular line from the base to the highest point, multiplied by the height. That's the area of a trapezium. Area of a parallelogram would be the base multiplied by the height, which is that length there. So it's base times by height. So the area is equal to base times height. That's the area of a parallelogram. One other shape which I've not drawn here, because I'm going to do a lesson on this completely separately, are circles. Just for the sake of reference, to find the area of a circle, sorry, terrible circle there, but the area of a circle is pi r squared. I is their radius, which goes from the middle to the circumference of the circle. The reason why I haven't included areas in this circles in this particular lesson is not because circle is not part of GCSE, it's a very important part of GCSEs, but I'm going to do an entirely different lesson on circles altogether to go through how you find the perimeter, which is known as the circumference, and the areas and different types of calculation that are required with circles. Right, and then volume calculations. Okay, so to find the volume, so the one thing I want to always remember, to find the volume of any shape, we are looking at cuboids here. So this is a 3D version of a square and 3D version of a rectangle, which we refer to as cuboids. But regardless of what shape you get, and for volume calculations, you basically find the surface area of the face and then multiply it by the length. So the surface area of the face here, this is a face, you find the area of that and then multiply it by that length there. You find area of the face here and then multiply it by that length there. So let's say this is 2 centimeters, this is 2, and that's also going to be 2 because it's cube. The volume of this shape would be 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 8 centimeter cubed. Now, the unit for volume is always going to be cubed, whatever that unit is cubed, so in this case centimeter cubed. If I have this shape and let's say this is 2 centimeters, this is 5 centimeters, and this is that length there is 3 centimeters, then it's going to be 2 times 5, the volume is going to be 2 times 5 times 3, which is 30 centimeter cubed. Right? Hope that makes sense. Let's look at some specific questions on these. Right, find the perimeter of the rectangle. Okay, so to find the perimeter, we're going to add the lengths of all the sides. So it's going to be 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2. We know the opposite sides are going to have the same size. You can always do it like this, or do 6 plus 2 and then multiply that by 2. Same thing. So the 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. 8 times 2 is equal to 16. So the perimeter is 16 centimeters for this rectangle. Next question says, find the area of the triangle. So remember, the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So our base is 10 times by 8. That's the first mistake there, right? That is the length, but not the height. So it's multiplied by 5 and then divided by 2. So 10 times 5 is 50. Divide that by 2 and we get 25 centimeter squared. So be very careful with triangles. We are always going to take the height and not these two sides. Right, we've got a compound shape here. Now a compound shape is basically an odd shape. That is, we can simplify the shape by splitting it into two shapes that make more sense to us, into two squares. A square and a rectangle, two triangles. It could be a combination of things. So here, but we can split it up and find it in that sense. It says find the perimeter and the area of the following shape. So to find the perimeter, we need to add all the lengths together. We have these lengths, but these two are missing. So we look at it like this. This and this, the sum of these two is equivalent to 8. So if this is 3 centimeters, then that's going to be 5 centimeters. We do the same thing here. The sum of this and this side should add up to 7. So if this is 3 centimeters, then that's going to be 4 centimeters. So to find the perimeter, we're going to do 8 plus 3 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 7. 8 plus 3 gives us 11. 11 plus 5 gives us 16. 16 plus 4 gives us 20. 20 plus 3 gives us 23. 23 plus 7 gives us 30. So the perimeter is equal to 30 centimeters. Now to find the area, this is where we can split it. So the perimeter is easy. We just add all the lengths together. It doesn't matter what the shape is like. But the area is slightly different. To find the area of this shape, I don't know the formula to find the area of this odd looking shape. So I'm going to split it into two rectangles. I can find the area of the rectangle separately and then add them together. So let's say this is area 1 and this is area 2. To find area 1, I'm looking at a rectangle that has length and width of 3 and 7. So I'm going to do 3 times 7, which is equal to 21 centimeters squared. To find the area of the second rectangle, be very careful. That length is not 8, but actually 5. So I'm going to do 5 times 3, which is equal to 15 centimeters squared. So the total area is going to be 21 plus 15, which is equal to 36 centimeter squared. And that's the area of that compound shape. So any compound shape you get, to find the area, you split it into shapes that you know the formula for the area of, and then find areas separately and then add them together. Right, let's look at this one. Slightly harder question, but a GCSE question. The diagram shows a right angle triangle and a parallelogram. The area of the parallelogram is 4 times the area of the triangle. The perpendicular height of the parallelogram is h. Find the value of h. Okay, so the area of the parallelogram is 4 times the area of the triangle. So, can we find out what the area of a triangle is? In this case, yes, we can. So the formula for the area of a triangle was base times height divided by 2. So the base is 4. The height, perpendicular line from the base to the peak of the triangle. So the 7 in this case is the height divided by 2. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 divided by 2 is equal to 14. So the area of the triangle is 14 centimeters squared. It says the area of the parallelogram is 4 times that area. So the area of the parallelogram, if I do it like this, will be 14 times 4. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. Carry the 1 over. 4 times 1 plus the 1 is equal to 56 centimeters squared, right? So the area of the parallelogram is 56 centimeters squared. Now, how do we find the area of the parallelogram? It was base times by height. So if we know the area is 56 and we know the base is 14 times by the height, which is what we're trying to find the height, we need to do the inverse, which is 56 divided by 14. So if we do the division, how many times does 14 go into 56? And that would give us 4. So the h is equal to 4 centimeters. Right? Hope that makes sense. Let's go on to the next question. Okay, the next question is on volume. It says find the volume of the cuboid. Okay, so we can find the area of the face and then multiply by the length. Or you can think of it like this. We're going to multiply the length by the width by the depth. Right? So that means 9 times 2 times 3, which is equal to 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 9 is equal to 54. So it's 54 centimeter cubed, because volume is always, the unit of volume is always going to be cubed. Right. Okay, so let's go through some of the very common mistakes when it comes to calculating areas and perimeters. So first things first is forgetting the units. Very, very, very common mistake, because sometimes they will give you the units that they want you to calculate in, and then sometimes they wouldn't. They will just say, write it in the appropriate units. So you need to know what the units are. So very, very common to forget that the area is always going to be that unit squared, and for volume is going to be that unit cubed, always and always. So always remember that regardless of the shape that you're looking at. Next common mistake would be using the wrong formula for the volume and area. So revise up on how you calculate these different areas, as I've gone through them in the video, and also miscalculating when you're adding sides to the perimeter. So if I go back to, for example, if I go back to this compound shape, it's very common that students forget that these two lengths are actually missing, and you need to work them out and then add everything together. So rather than just adding 8 to 3 to 7 and 3, there are 2 lengths that are missing there. And then for the area as well, not realizing that you need to split it into 2 and just making up a formula in terms of how you calculate it. So be very careful with that when you're looking at perimeters. Now, some practice questions for you. So I want you to try these questions. You can pause the video, go through these questions, and then comment your answers, and I can let you know whether you got the right or wrong answer and give you some pointers if needed. So pause the video and have a go with these questions. And very, very common where you are not given a diagram for the question. So perfectly fine to scribble a shape in terms of whatever shape's given to you and just label your sides so you don't make a mistake when calculating it in your head. This is where, what I mentioned, a common mistake is where you miscalculate adding the sides. That could be a common here as well, common when you don't have the diagram as well. Right, okay, well, great job everyone. We have covered perimeters, areas, and volume, and went through some real example kind of past paper questions from easy to harder levels. Hope you found this to be helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next